So I'm in Mexico City, and let's talk about accents. Because I feel like whenever I learn a language, I'm like quite hyper aware that like I have an accent. And obviously everyone has an accent because uh, like as long as there's more than one variety of a language being spoken, then depending on whose point of view it is, someone has an accent. Everyone has an accent. And I used to be very like, oh, hyper aware that like, oh, my Spanish or my Portuguese like doesn't sound native like. And also there's like the bigger linguistics question of is it even possible to reach native like fluency in terms of like accent reduction? And I think it is possible. I think it is. I think that I was reading this linguistic stuff. There's some other parts of the language that it's difficult to acquire native like fluency. I think especially discursive interfaces with syntax, something like that. So yeah, so I used to be very like insecure about my accent, and then in Mexico I've been telling people like, oh, I've spent a lot of time in Spain, so that's why my Spanish sounds a bit different. No one fucking cares, so I'm not gonna say anymore because no one fucking cares. I mean, it is true that like I'm not used to like the slightly different accent of Mexican Spanish to like the up and down of the language. But I'm not. It's just like nobody fucking cares. So it's like, why am I obsessing over this? Like, no one fucking cares. Like, why am I trying to preemptively apologize for my accent? Like, it really doesn't matter. Also, so also this makes me think of my Galician course because I was spending some time in Galicia. Galicia is this like northwestern part of Spain, and I was doing a course there. It was terrible. It was so terrible. I was doing the advanced course, and it was like so basic it was literally so basic. And the people as well. So there were two groups of people, and this relates to my thinking. There were two groups of people. There was a very small minority of people in my course who spoke at Galician with like almost flawlessly like native like accent, and like the majority of the group spoke Galician with like a very thick accent. So the small minority who didn't have an accent, they intimidated me. Whereas, so the small minority of people who were speaking it irritated me. Then the majority who were speaking it badly really annoyed me because I was like, it's so obvious you have like a Polish accent or a Catalan accent, and it was like so annoying. It's like, this is an advanced course. Like, why do you still have such a thick accent? And obviously that's like a really asshole thing to say, which is why I don't say it. I just keep it inside. I try to cringe inside. And if I've ever cringed in front of you for your accent, I apologize. I didn't mean to cringe outside. I meant to cringe inside. It's the same thing with like in Oxford as well. It's like I just in like my first year of like doing Spanish, I was like so amazed that like literally these Brits have been learning Spanish for 6 years, and the accent sucks. I'm just like, oh my god, you sound terrible. I didn't say it, obviously. Where am I going with this? Whereas I learned it by myself for like a year and a half, and I'm like, why do I sound better than you? This doesn't make sense. So anyway, the moral of the story is, it doesn't fucking matter. If you're worried about your accent, which I am sometimes, I either think about people who are better at me and I think I want to be like them, or I think about people who are worse than me. I'm like, I don't want to be like them. I want to improve my blah 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 my accent so I don't sound like these people who are annoying me. Although that's still a very asshole thing to say. But also I think that unless you're a white person who's like, I love learning languages and like different languages and different cultures, but literally all you learn are like romance languages, like please. Unless that's the case, if you learn lots of languages like I do, like at some point you're gonna learn a language in which you don't look like a local. So like people don't even expect you to speak their language. So it's like even if you did manage to have a native like phonology, native like accent, it's like what's the end goal? What's the end goal of trying to reduce your accent? Because it's like are you trying to fit in? Am I trying to fit in? I guess. It's like, yeah, so it's like, if you don't even look like the locals, it's like, what's the point? Like, they're not gonna think you're Mexican. Oh, actually, unless you use like the local slang. So here's the thing. Um, like when in English, when someone says something and you can't hear, you didn't catch it. Usually we say something like, "Oh, sorry, what did you just say?" Or like, "Sorry," or like, "What?" Or like, "Excuse me," like, "Huh?" Whereas in Spanish, in Spain, people will say "Cómo," but in Mexico they don't say "Cómo." They say "Mande," which literally means like send, or like say it again, basically, which is really confusing. But whatever. So one time I've been trying to use like Mexican, like these like little words, like filler words and like interjections and stuff, like using like the Mexican version. And one time this complete stranger was like, after I used one of those words, he was like, "Eres mexicano?" And I'm like, "Oh, you think I'm Mexican? You think I'm a local because I've been using your local words? Oh, thank you. I'm so flattered. Oh, thank you. Ooh, thank you." Anyway, where was I going with this? So yeah, so I used to be anxious about my accent thing. I don't really care anymore. Again, it really depends on like why you're learning the language. Also, like as well, I think like when you start to learn a language, you learn a prestige accent, which is to say the accent, the variety that's like has the most social prestige in society. So like in Britain, obviously that's like received pronunciation or like in whatever the BBC dialect is, and then in America, I guess it's general American. In Spanish, in Spain, it's like the Spanish of usually the capital cities, I guess, like the Spanish of Madrid. So if you speak like Southern Spanish, which is to say like in the southern regions where they have a very different way of saying it, then it's like you're penalized for it socially if you do it in media or whatever, which is fucked up, obviously. But also like if you're a foreigner, it's like I've been thinking about this because of Galician. It's like how much room do I have as a non-local to like be like, oh, I'm choosing to speak like a different non-prestige accent because I want to fight this injustice. This is like this social system is bullshit of like penalizing people just because they have like a weird accent and like, oh, not giving them jobs. I'm not saying that or saying that they can't be on TV or whatever. And it's like I like what like how much power do I have to do that? How much of a right do I have to do that? I don't think I do. I don't know. It's really difficult. So that's something to think about as well. Mm. Also, English. I'm not going to talk about English that much because I think like I speak with a very strange English accent. Although actually, I think it's very Singaporean. But like obviously, I don't. I only use my native. I only use my native Singaporean English accent with Singaporeans because obviously Singaporean English doesn't have the kind of popularity and like currency and like blah 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 of like Australian English or like British English, you know. So it's like why would I? It's so for me, Singaporean English, the English I learned since I was born. That's like an in group accent. Like that's something I would use with a Singaporean to be like, hey, we're both same, sama sama, you know. So I don't use Singaporean English when I'm not with Singaporeans. But also I don't use British English. Or I guess I've been kind of influenced because like in the beginning I was like I can't, in the beginning I was like when I came to Oxford I was like I can't learn a British accent. It's fucked up too. It's like it's I gotta decolonize myself. I can't use a British accent. But then I don't know. Like can I use a British accent even if I wanted to? I feel like it'd be really difficult and I feel like it'd be really like hilarious in a bad way. I don't know. But maybe when I come back to Oxford, maybe I'll have a British accent. And maybe it's gonna be really terrible, and you can tell me about it when you hear me say it. Bye bye.